little kids with crazy emotions and why they do things, and sometimes they do things just to do them. Like, like Teddy, why did you use 10 pumps of hand soap? Only takes one pump of hand soap.
John McCormick, and this is the Dad's Project podcast. Welcome to this week's episode. I'm excited to share John's message as a veteran Marine Corps officer, and we talk about his leadership principles that he's learned from the Marine Corps that transfer home as a dad of two, but also those principles that his daughters are teaching him at 2 and 4 years old that transition into making him a better leader of Marines. We also talk on subjects of having conversations with other dads, connecting, communicating about what's going well and what's not going well. There's just so many great takeaways from this episode. I know you're going to love it. I am going to give a quick caveat for John. All of his opinions are of his own and not a reflection of the Marine Corps and the DoD. But now that that's out of the way, let's get to today's episode. Major John McCormick, welcome to the Dad's Project podcast.
How we doing, Nick? Glad to be here. Glad to be here. Yeah.
Yep. Round 2. For everyone listening, we've already done this once. The sound quality, something happened, but we're back for round 2. I'm excited to dive in. John, what does living a life of service mean to you?
I think simply put, probably life of service is trying to put, whether your family, your occupation, like in my case, being a Marine, I think that it just means putting the other people before you. Try to put your own self-interest to the side to make sure that you're taking care of everyone around you first.
And how many years do you have in the Marine Corps? You're a major lieutenant colonel soon.
Yeah, shocking, crazy. Just over 15 and a half years. So since 2010.
So 15 and a half years, 2010, you've done multiple moves, deployments throughout that time when you've been with your wife. What are those behaviors and routines that set you up, whether it's long days, trips, deployments, training exercises, when you come back to your family to be present? What does that look like for you?
Yeah, so particularly now, and it's been an evolution probably from when I was younger, when it was just Kaylin and I, versus now having the 2 girls, and then obviously an escalating level of responsibility across all these past years and different jobs. But particularly now we're experiencing it because on top of the normal level of responsibility I have at work, and the 2 girls, we're planning for a move. So come July, so I guess a little over 2 months, we're gonna pack up everything again and try to move up there. So just trying to balance setting everything up at work to pass that off so that, that doesn't fall off and it's a seamless transition there, to making sure that we're getting the girls into school and everything like that set up. It's come down to a lot more communication. So I think in the past I would just internalize things or we would just deal with them on the fly. But particularly of recent, with how much we have going on and the complexity of it, I will come home and actually just say, like, hey, it's been tough. And you and I were talking just before this as part of the catch-up, and I told you that the last 2 to 3 months have been tough. So now more than ever, I'm just saying, hey, babe, I need some time today. Can you handle this? Can you carry the load a little bit more tonight? And if that means tomorrow night, I'll do both baths, or I'll take the kids and pick them up, because we try to share mostly everything. I think that's been especially beneficial the last few months.
Yeah, communication. I think we talked about this last time. It's that tool, and I think it was Mel Robbins, maybe not Mel Robbins, one of those very smart women who has a podcast that's smarter than me and you combined. But they talked about the tool of coming home and checking in with your partner, checking in with your spouse and saying, hey, it's been a day. I'm at a 3. Can you get to 7 so we can attack tonight with the kids? And just using that framework to set them up for success.
Yeah, so we the first time we went this go around, we talked about the 5-5, the 10, this whole 10 thing. Don't use that specifically, but definitely we just try to just gauge where we're at. But funny enough, when I was talking with my sergeant major at the airport, I was like, we could actually use that tool between us. And we're sitting in the lounge at the airport, and I was like, have you heard about this? We got to add up to 10. I was like, as long as you're a 4, I could be a 6. And the woman across from us, she's like, her head perks up and she just starts laughing. She's like, are either of you guys married? She's like, I'm sorry for listening, but she's like, it's so funny to hear two grown men talking about this communication thing, and we're like, hey, I mean, like if it works for at home, like why can't it work for work? So just pretty funny. This lady just starts burst out laughing. I was like, hey, no, it is. We got to find a way to win here. So if it means we got to set a baseline when we come in for the day in the morning, and we're leveling for what we had planned for the week, I'm like, that's what we got to do.
Yeah, I mean, it's a beautiful relationship regardless, whether you're talking to Caitlin or your Sergeant Major, who you may spend more time with than you do your wife.
Yeah. So,
communication is key.
From time to time, definitely true.
Continuing on the thread of communication and your move, how are you communicating about change with your daughters? You've got Teddy, who's 4, Charlie, who is 2. Maybe they don't understand completely, but how are you going to talk about that change or changing schools or maybe getting into a school? They got different friends, different house. What does that look like?
Man, this one kind of hits home because, I mean, it's as recent as last night. So being in a military town, Teddy's best friend at school, today's her last day. So she'll be 5 soon. And she knows. She's like, today, the little girl's name is Dakota. She's like, today's Dakota's last day. Like, I'm really sad. Will I ever see Dakota again? And so reassuring her, I mean, like, these are human beings with real emotion. I don't know if we were treated that way when we were kids. I probably certainly wasn't by my dad. But like just a whole different perspective of trying to reinforce. So like as we laid in bed last night, I'm like, hey, honey, that's okay. We have video calls that you can do. We can do a pen pal, and she can't write, but you could draw pictures and we'll send it to her. And we have their mommy's number, so you could call her, or we can text message, and if you want, like she can come visit if her family wants to do that. But let her know that, and we say like it's kind of sad, and we're like, if it's kind of sad, it's okay. Like you saw me sad when Grammy died, or try to show them that they've seen Caitlin and I in positions where we were sad, so that she knows it's okay. And then I drop off this morning like, hey baby, just remember, like if today's sad, it's gonna be okay. So like, you don't if you start to feel a certain way or overwhelmed, and if you're either a teacher talking to you, just remember that it's all gonna be okay. So when I left her, gave her an extra hug, gave her an extra kiss. We'll probably get her ice cream today when we pick her up, so that we like, if there's any residual pain after that last final hug, we'll soothe it with the ice cream, which is always isn't always a fix, but just reassuring her that the feelings that she has are natural, and that Caitlin and I are here for her.
Yeah, that's such a powerful tool. Not only the ice cream, which I also use with Lauren, my partner, to soothe some challenging times. If you're listening to this, Lauren, I'll get you some. But holding space for them as humans. I was just recording another episode yesterday, and he said they're just little human beings with emotions and feelings and ideas and all of these things. And I think that, like you said, maybe we weren't treated that way. I don't remember having space for my emotions or ideas back when I was a kid. But being able to be real with your kids, like, hey, this is sad, and like, I've been sad. Let me share an experience with you, and holding space for that emotion is such a beautiful thing. Obviously, she is experiencing more change than most kids, maybe her age, because of the military life. Have you started the conversation about your move?
So we have. So some of the things that we're trying to identify are how, even though we're changing, there's still a lot of things the same. So like we have a pool here, we're saying we have a pool there. So like things that she can easily identify, at least as the shock value, because I haven't seen the place yet. Now there's Charlie or Teddy, only Caitlin. So full faith in my spouse. So Caitlin, if you're listening, I mean, you know what? That's the biggest level of trust that you can have, is trying to help without having seen it, but trying to identify those things that'll resonate with her in the immediate, and then also some of the different changes. Like you're going to have a new room. Your new room has your own bathroom. When we go up there, you're going to make new friends, but you're going to kindergarten. So like trying to spin everything in a positive way, so that when she thinks about it, it's not necessarily like the fear of the unknown. We're trying to calm some of those fears.
Yeah, calming fears and talking about the opportunities. A new room. That's so exciting. And new opportunities. Like, I think that's great. So something I like to talk about with all the veterans that are on the show, obviously being a veteran, what are the lessons you've taken from your training, from your experience, positive or negative, from the Marine Corps that bleed over into your parenting?
So I think this, for me, this one's pretty easy because it's trying to, even before having the kids, it's trying to identify the root cause of the or the why. Why is this person behaving this way? Why is this person feeling this way? Why am I feeling this way? And we also just talked about, like, there's often really a paradigm between spot correcting in the military, or you can kind of wait and sit on things to allow and see the outcome, so that way you can tease out the actual causation of the issue and then fix that, because if spot corrections don't fix a systemic problem. So
100%.
Especially with kids who they're just not equipped, to regulate their emotions. Is like, well, Charlie, for instance, like she's really been fighting this week in particular, getting ready. So, like, what, for us, it's frustrating. We wake up, we have a timeline that we're trying to keep, but to take a pause and say, like, okay, why do we think that she's fighting us to get dressed? Well, it turns out she's at a point where she's having a little bit of separation anxiety. So she, in her head, if she slow plays breakfast, which she's done this whole week, if she tries to slow play or fight getting dressed, which she has this whole week, it's delaying the inevitable, which she knows is these things are all leading up to her getting dropped off at her daycare, which she's really got a tough time. So rather than get emotional and frustrated in the moment for those things, taking that pause and evaluating, well, okay, this is why she's doing it. So we just need to say, like, it's okay. We're going to drop you off. We're going to come back. We see you every day. And she can't communicate it, but she understands. Like, kids understand what we're saying a lot more than they can communicate back. So, like, that scenario or situation we're dealing with right now is a particularly good example of that.
Yeah, I think that's something all men and dads can really start to embody, is taking that tactical pause, right? In the military, when I taught it, it was, hey, slow down, zoom out. What's the big picture? What's actually happening right now? Why is this happening? And then zoom back in with that behavior change, with that action, to make sure you're making the right action. And I think, often we just react. It's like, oh, you're taking too long. What's going on? You need to get ready. Put your shoes on. As opposed to, like, wow, she actually just doesn't want to leave us. How can we communicate clearly? How can we hold space for that? And then hopefully we all get on the same page and can move forward.
Yeah, I mean, it takes deliberate action. You can't, and you kind of have to almost have to develop it. And
right.
And yeah, I think that's probably, at work at least, it's something that I try to develop with the staff and citizen officers of identifying that, like, what are the things that you have to do now, and what are the things that you can wait on a little bit, and have that tactical pause. I mean, I hate cliches, but like that, as far as like the military is concerned, I think that tactical pause really is like that encapsulates what you're doing, so perfectly.
Yeah, I mean, and you can use that idea at home with your kids, with your partner, in your day-to-day life, at work. There's so many areas of life that it can connect to. Switching the tables a little bit. So what have Teddy and Charlie taught you that you've been able to translate into being a better leader of Marines?
So they're almost hand in hand. The whole tactical pause thing is having the patience with the kids. So, like, tactical pause is one way of deliberately doing it, but also on the other end is just having patience. So little kids with crazy emotions and why they do things, and sometimes they do things just to do them. Like Teddy, why did you use 10 pumps of hand soap? It only takes 1 pump of hand soap. I'm like, take a deep breath. And she's like, oh, well, Daddy, she tells me, I was trying to clean the bathroom sink. That's why I used 10. I'm like, okay, well, I didn't know it was dirty. But thank you for trying to help. So it's kind of the same way at work, like having some patience with when I see a Marine, like, why did you call and set up a meeting with the base commander to brief them our security outbrief? And I just found out about it an hour before this meeting was supposed to occur. I'm like, thank goodness the staff sec called me to make sure that I was aware. But like, why'd you? Oh, well, sir, like, you told me that you wanted to make sure that they were tied in with all the results so that they know that our security, we got a good security posture. You told me that. So I was like, okay, all right, well, good intentions, bad judgment, another another phrase that we use that also perfectly encapsulates. Like, thankfully, I was able to call and apologize. It's like, oh no, I'm sorry. The corporal was a little confused about my intent. But yeah, for sure, for patience rather than just kind of be like, what are you doing? Like, you not need to go see the O6 to tell them about we're properly signing SF702 forms on the vault door. But
while I appreciate your initiative to clean the sink and or call the base commander, that's poor judgment. I wish you would have come to me first.
Yeah, yes.
That's beautiful. What's something, John, you brought up your dad earlier. What's something that you learned from your dad that maybe you didn't realize it as a kid, but now that you are also a dad, that has impacted you?
Yeah, so doing a lot of reflection on what I want to tell the Marines. Like, I don't want to have like some profound statement, but I want to have something from the heart, like what I did here, what the Marines meant to me. There's a lot of things that I wanted to do better. I could have done better. And something that my dad said to me after my stepmom died 2 years ago was like, we had a lot of really in-depth conversation about a father-son relationship. And he told me, there's some things that you maybe wondered why I did it a certain way, or you might even resent something that I did and think that I did something wrong. He's like, I just want you to know that whenever I made these decisions and I did these certain things, I was just doing the best I could at the time. Like, was it perfect? Was it difficult? 100%. Like, some of these things were, painful, even some of the decisions I made, but like at that given time with the resources I had, that's just the, that's what I had to do. So I think that's why I'm going to tell the Marines, like, look, I wish I could have been more present sometimes. I wish I could have done this other times. But like, I hope I can improve your quality of life. I hope that that I had good intentions. But yeah, so do the best with what you do the best you can with what you have. And it's not always perfect, but you have good intentions and everything that you're doing.
Yeah, I think that resonates. I don't know if you remember, but I did like a little podcast series with my parents. And that's one of the things my dad said as well was, there was no user manual. I had no clue what I was doing, but I hope that that we were doing the best we could. Mm-hmm. And obviously we made mistakes and you judged us when you were a teenager and a jerk and all these things. But like, we loved you and we were doing the best we could. And like, that's what he would leave us with. So that's beautiful. Transitioning to your dad leadership principles. Number 1, be genuine. What does that mean to you?
Yeah, so be genuine and authentic. So part of what coming up in the military, at least, I think before you join, you see examples of what you think right looks like, or what you think the shining example or the target you want to shoot on to be like that perfect or as best you can of a lieutenant or OIC or whatever billet they have you in. Like, the more I thought about it is that, like, if you forcibly try to put yourself or to act like that, then you're oftentimes kind of pushing what you know to be right to the side. So if you're true to yourself, you're probably acting within the best intentions. You're listening to your spidey senses when something seems off. But if you're trying to force yourself into a box you're not, you're probably not going to make a decision for the right reason. And the second reason being, if you're not yourself, I mean, for a fact, these junior Marines, they will sniff it out in 2 seconds.
Yeah.
And then they're not going to trust you. And if you're not genuine, you can't build the trust. And if you can't build the trust in the environment that we often work in, then you're not going to be a successful organization. So
yeah.
Be genuine, be authentic.
How are you showing up authentically with your daughters? What does that look like? How are you letting them see the real John, not just this dad, this godlike figure that is dad?
Adonis, right? So
Adonis-like figure.
Yeah. So I mean, I'll kind of expand the question a little bit more. But like, I do the same thing at work. How do I do it? Like, at work, I joke. Some people think you're supposed to be serious, but I tell them I'm going to joke about everything. But there's like 4 things that I don't joke about, and the Marines know, and I remind them periodically that these are the 4 things that it's always serious all the time in every scenario. And like, for the girls, it's the same thing. Like, I'm not going to always be stern or serious. I'm just going to be myself. Or particularly like what I talked about before, like, they saw me cry when my stepmom died. I mean, I was sad as shit, obviously. And it was really confusing for Teddy because she was just about to turn 3. in 2020. Yeah, so she was just about to turn 3. So very confusing for her, but like I could have tried to shield her from that, and then she would have. I mean, kids are able to sense like behavior and feeling a lot more than they can. I think the intuitive aspect of behavior, like they will, and they
Yep.
internalize that, and they'll actually reflect it. And I think there's several different studies that are showing that. So I could have tried to just like swallow all the grief and everything like that, but they would have, particularly Teddy. Charlie was just born, but she would have figured that out, that something was off elsewhere. So just allowing them to see that I'm also a human being that has different emotions. Like they've seen me mad, they've seen me sad, they see me laugh, they see the full gamut of emotions, and unapologetically, like, yeah, that is just the way it is.
Yeah, being real. And I think that's something that maybe our generation, maybe we're the first one, I don't know, have leveled up a little bit from that, because I don't remember seeing many emotions, maybe just the anger one. As a young boy, definitely recall that one. But I love that you're showing up that way for your girls. Number 2 principle: have and seek out perspective. What does that look like as a dad?
So a dad, I mean, I think it's kind of what we're doing here. It's what I do with my neighbors. Like, hey, I'm experiencing this. I feel this way. What do you think? And I don't know. Same thing. If it's a generational thing, I think even so. My neighborhood ranges from guys that are about 10 years younger than me, 10 years older than me. The ones that I'm closer with, in particular, are roughly my age to, we'll say, 10 years, like just under 50. So that 10-year gap. I think some of the conversations, I think, have taken them aback, because I'm like, man, like it can be fucking lonely out here, bro. And he's like, well, what do you mean? I'm like, dude, it's like sometimes you just feel like you're floundering. Like you're trying to juggle this, you're trying to juggle that, and he's like, wow. He's like, no one's ever actually admitted that to me. So I try to, like, that's kind of tangential, but I say that to get, like, once I put that out there, I think then people are kind of willing to show the way that they've had prior experiences that necessarily they kind of would have just like kept to themselves. So when they give me the perspective, like, oh, when I did this, whether it be my marriage, I did this with my kid, I did this with my job because of my marriage or my kid, then I'm able to put that into my toolbox. And when I experience something that I'm experiencing for the first time, and I'm sure as you're experiencing for the first time, then I'm a little bit better equipped to be able to say, like, oh, this is kind of normal, or like, this is how somebody else dealt with it. Let me see if that's going to work out for me. And it translates exactly to work is the same way. Like when you, before you make a big decision, like, let me get this person who's an expertise, or like, let me get this person who's done this deployment or has done this planning thing or has had this experience with some of the real serious things, like how did you handle a suicide or something like that. Like, talk to me about it, so that when I'm going through it for the first time, like, I know that this is normal, this is not normal, these are methods that I can do, and then I can navigate my way through the scenario to try to get to a positive solution.
Yeah, the theme, communication, right? And I think there's so much space that is getting better since I've, leaned into Dad's Project and Executive Dad. And there's like, I'm getting more and more influences of like dad communities that are out there, but there's always more space for those conversations. And it's very rare that you start one or you lean into that discomfort of like, hey man, how are you? Like, I'm going through some challenging shit. Can I share it with you?
Yep.
It's always a relatively positive experience. Like, no dude is like, whoa, bro, don't talk to me like that. As long as you're in the right crowds.
Yeah.
Right. So I think there's definitely more space for that. And hopefully these conversations help, and, more neighborhood conversations over a bourbon or a workout or something like that can help. Last one, be deliberate with who and how you invest your time and energy. How are you bringing a deliberate mindset to how you spend your time?
Yeah, so I mean, I try, at least in the initial onset, with we're talking about work, I tell everyone flat out when I do my initial counselings and my expectations, like, I'm going to give you an opportunity. Everyone that I work with is going to get an opportunity, or is supported to me. But if you're not up to muster, I don't have time to put all of my energy. It's a finite resource. I have a finite resource when I'm at work, and when push comes to shove, the people that I see the most longevity with for the organization, for mission success, for X, that's the people I'm going to invest in. It's nothing personal by any means, and that's why I also say that, like, I still think you're a great guy or girl, but I mean, when it comes down to work, like, I just can't continue investing with little to no return. And it
Right.
works in my personal life. It's kind of the same way. Like, hey, particularly this is with more established relationships. It's more like, okay, well, I can invest a whole lot. I'd like to invest a whole lot. There's a lot of legacy feelings with certain people that I wish, a nostalgia where I'm like, man, I remember what it used to be, but it's just not that. And when it comes down to it, dude, there's like 5 people that I can really, and 3 of them live in my house with me. That
Right.
I can really give like a positive. Now, I still want to give time. Like when you and I we talk a lot less than before we moved. Before you moved down to Georgia, California, then Georgia, and before I moved from Northern Virginia down to here, like we saw each other on a daily basis.
Right.
But when we give time to each other, our time is valuable time. I think catching up, providing real value to each other's lives. And I have lots, and I have other friendships. I wouldn't say lots. I have other friendships that are like that. You pick up exactly where you left off because both of you provide value to your relationships. There's other people where I'm just like, sorry, like got nothing for you, like
Yeah.
And I'm deliberate about it. I'm like, it is what it is. Like, I'm sorry, I don't feel bad about it. I say sorry, but I'm not actually sorry.
Yeah, I think it's the key word there is be deliberate.
Yeah.
Whether you are going to invest your time and energy, be deliberate with it. Reach out, have those conversations, make it a thing. If you're not going to be deliberate about it, be deliberate about not wasting time and energy. Like, hey, I'm sorry, I'm not sorry in your case, right? I'm not going to spend time and energy on you. Yeah, I think that's key right there. Transitioning, final 3 questions, John. What's the habit or routine that sets you up for success as a dad?
What did I say last time?
Something about physical fitness, throwing a javelin. I don't know.
Oh man, yeah, that's exactly what it is. I mean, I'm telling you, since we did the last time, this last month has had me in a whirlwind. I've been trying to tread water, I think, on some days, but trying to maintain something outside of work and family that's just for me, where I can kind of detach. If that works, like is a workout, but like what it's been recently is I got back into throwing javelin. So all aspects of javelin, like Instagram, I'm on javelin things. I got a javelin centric workout plan that I get sent to me on a daily basis with my workout app. I entered competitions the past 2 years. I have a goal of competing in Seoul, Korea, or I think it's Seoul, Korea next summer for the World Masters Athletic Games. I started coaching my neighbor's son. Like all things that I think just keep my stress level down, where I'm not having to focus on the 2 things that bring value to my life, my work and my career, but also like I need something else that can keep me invested in those, where I can shift my mindset a little bit. So so whether it be javelin or whatever, I have a lot of hobbies that I ebb and flow with, and I go
interest.
I have a lot of interest, and I go in fairly hard for a short amount of time. The javelin thing, I've stayed fairly consistent, barring injury, for the last 2 years. So that one's been great for me.
Yeah, what I'm hearing is have some passions outside of work that give you a release of that stress, that give you excitement, that give you joy. Mine would be like backpacking, hiking, camping, those things. You're throwing a spear, getting back to your ancestral roots.
We should put our 2 hobbies together.
Throwing spears while camping. Absolutely. Go spear hunting. If you guys want to follow John in a singlet, we'll leave his Instagram in the show notes. Do you wear a singlet?
I don't wear a singlet, Nick.
Well, maybe with enough followers, you will. All right, John, next question. What's the one text message you would send to all dads? What is your message to all dads?
What text messages? Probably, I don't know if I could have something that's like clear and concise, which is probably not great for communication, but I think it would just be like some kind of reassurance. I mean, so Kate, actually that's it. I'll pivot a little bit. I'll reframe your question. I don't think you could have one text message that would be valuable, like one blanket text message. I think you could have a theme, and my theme would be that you're not experiencing like in a vacuum, that you're not the only person experiencing the things you are. Kind of like what we just said. When I talk to my different neighbors, it's almost like they have a letdown. So whether it be a text message or not, they kind of like let down, be like, man, like, yeah, I had this thing going on, and I didn't have anybody to talk to, but thanks for like, thanks. So like now, and reassurance, like, dude, I like drinking bourbon with you. I like playing golf, whatever you do with your guy friends, but also saying like, I also value all of those things that aren't that, and just like our conversations about life and parenting and what it means to be a dad that works full time and has responsibility. Like I value that stuff on top of all the fun stuff. I value that, and I think that means I've said that to a few people in the last couple of months, and I think that really kind of hit home with them when they're like, "Wow, like I wasn't sure." Like because I bring up the topic, so like I wasn't sure if like you were just doing that because you felt like you had to do it, or you did that because you wanted to and you value what I was saying. I was like, no, I value that conversation with you, and I thank you for it. So,
yeah, I appreciate the feedback on my question, but I think that is true. And what I'm hearing is like, you're not alone, right? There are other dads and men, the old military adage, like suffer in silence. And that's what's led to so many challenges with veterans, with men in general. So yeah, challenging men to have that conversation. Like, yeah, I love hanging out, drinking a bourbon, going for a hike or playing golf or whatever it may be. But like, I also genuinely, to go back to your first one, I genuinely enjoy just being human and having conversations with you.
Yeah.
That's great. All right. Last question. This is going to be from the Dad's Project notebook here from our last guest. His episode just dropped this past week, Mr. Miles Davis. And I think this is a good question for you. If you could go back in time and speak to your own parents at your age, what would you tell them? Advice, feedback, what would you share?
Speak to my own parents at mine. So my parents were my age right now.
Correct.
Oof. So my parents are divorced. One. So I would have to have.
You could choose one. You could choose a parent. Up to you.
Yeah, I'll go with my dad because I was primarily raised by him and lived with him. I would probably say, I would thank him, which I'll come back to this, but I would thank him for allowing my brother and I to fail at certain things and choose our own path. Some of it being successful and some of it not successful in some cases. But like, thank you for letting us find our own path. Because there's been things that we've talked about as we've gotten older. I'm like, well, why did you do this, or why did you allow me to do that? And he was basically like, I thought in that time that wasn't the decision I would have made, or that was the right decision for you, but I wanted a different outcome that was for my own personal like feelings. Like I wanted a different outcome that would have been fulfilling for myself and not for you. So like, I would say like, thank you for. I would tell him thank you for allowing, even though it might have been counterintuitive to how you felt at the time. Thank you for allowing me to find my own path, and also along that path, really put some emphasis of like driving me back on to when I really got a kind of awry in certain things. I'm trying to drop out of college after my second year and saying like, well, like, you could drop out of college, but you're not living here. I'm like, oh, okay, I'll go back to college.
So thank you for letting me choose my own path, allowing me to make that the wrong path, but then also showing me the right way back to the path when necessary. John, it's been a joy to connect and share your message. I will drop in the show notes where everyone can follow you. Hopefully we get the singlet in the upcoming javelin season. I know that's a real joy to see. Well, it's been a joy to have you on the show now twice. Only one will be published. But guys, if you like the show, be sure to give John a follow wherever you watch, listen, give us a 5-star review, leave us a comment, and subscribe. We'll see you on the next episode.